Hey everybody, this is Bevan. Welcome to Bevan, a femme over 40 and her friends podcast. I am your host, Bevan. My co-host Biscuit Reynolds remains in the spirit realm, but I am in the forest, which I'm very grateful for. I wanted to hop on here. I wanted to publish a podcast episode, just kind of catching up on the last few months because it's been a minute since I did a solo episode. And I know there's some folks out there who just really like the solo episodes and like to check in with me. So, um, first of all, welcome to my new microphone. I'm really testing this thing out. It's like this little fuzzy thing helps with wind. And I know sometimes when I use my headphone mic, which is still my best sounding mic, I think, for portable use, but you can hear the wind, right? So anyway, this is my hope, is that it comes in great. I didn't like my test, but I decided after 3 tries, I was like, we cannot be perfect on this podcast. Start before you're ready is the theme. And here I am. I am publishing this first. I like to do business in the front with my guests, but I don't always do business in the front on the solo episodes. But I do have some business to share with you. So I'm publishing this early for my Patreon supporters. Thank you, beloveds, for supporting my work. A little green bug. Cute. Here. There's your camera shy. I thank you for supporting my art and my work in the world. I do a lot of things. I have these little Ursula tentacles of media creation. And of course, the most tender thing I create are my aerobics classes, Fat Kid Dance Party Aerobics, for anyone who feels left behind by mainstream fitness. Primarily right now, because of my Patreon supporters, I'm doing Zoom classes, which are available for all levels of support. And I create on-demand classes, which I have to say is the most precious thing I've done. Like when I think about my possessions, quote unquote, like the library of classes I've created because of the on-demand membership for the past, I think I've been on Patreon 6 or 7 years. Anyway, it's been a long time. I started my aerobics class 8 years ago, which is kind of nuts to think that it's been that long, but it was during the last Venus retrograde in Aries, which is kind of also nuts to think about. So I've been my favorite astrologer, Chani, instructed us to go back into this time in 2017, which is the last time we did a Venus retrograde in Aries. And it was wild. My grandmother was passing away. I was starting this aerobics class. I had the love and support of a partner that I loved at the time. And I had the love and support of 2 earthly animals, Biscuit Reynolds and Macy, my 2 pets. And I just miss them so much. And I miss the love and support of a partner that I love, but not that one. But I've got other episodes about that, and that's all good. So just grateful to everyone who supports my Patreon page. And one of the many perks is sometimes I publish podcast episodes early for y'all. So here's the business thing I wanted to talk about in addition to patreon.com/FKDP, which stands for Fat Kid Dance Party. And you can also go in there and just buy individual aerobics classes if you don't want to commit to a membership. And there's lots more in there. I have pep talks. I have a lot of spiritual self-care tips, which I have to say, full flex right now. I am so grounded. I've been and maintained like emotional regulation for the last several months. Really grateful. And anyway, and a lot of that is my spiritual hygiene practices and my spiritual self-care practices. And it is free game from the universe, and I share it on my Patreon. So that's available there. But this is the business thing I wanted to talk about. So one of my earliest Reiki clients, Reiki is life force energy that helps to relieve anxiety, stress, and depression, restore balance, and remove any of your blocks to healing. It's very powerful. I was attuned to level 1 in 2013. I became attuned to level 2 in 2014. And that's when I started having clients. And I became a Reiki master in 2017, actually, around this time is when I started my training. And one of my earliest Reiki clients and the most consistent one, I think I've seen them at least once a year for the last 10 years. And they came to me with an idea for a one-on-one session I could offer. And they even named it a soul alignment session. They're like, Bevan, you're so good at this. And you do some of this in your business brainstorm sessions with people. Because if you have a business idea or you want help launching your Patreon or creating workflow that works for you, working at the pace of peace, I can tell you this because I walked that walk and I can help a lot. And I'm really good at seeing people's highest selves and helping to kind of lock into what's going to clear the junk out of the way so that you can really go forward. And I want to say, like, I think everyone's purpose in life is just to settle your nervous system and go with resonance in the present moment. So I'm not going to say I'm going to help you find your purpose, because I think that's a lie. I think it's very simple, but I can help you figure out a path to go forward on, and figure out some next steps and all of that stuff. So, um, anyway, my friend created this idea, and I'm like, yes, let's do it. Let's launch it in the energetic new year. It is the energetic new year. And I want to practice on 3 people before the offering goes live. Although I will be launching the offering when I get back from gaycation, which I'm about to leave on. So this is your opportunity. If you're watching this, listening to this, you can slide into my email, fatkiddanceparty@gmail.com. I will take the first 3 people at a pay what you can. Please no less than $30. But the offering, I'm going to be offering this 50-minute sessions for $222. So that's the value of what you'll get, because you'll be a practice student, and I'll ask only in addition to money that you give me a testimonial that I can do on my website. So that's the offering, soul alignment session with your pal Bevan. I'm a delight on Zoom. Have to say, I'm very good at it. And in addition to Reiki, I do a lot of other things, including this is an update from me. I have begun mediumship development training. And I know you're like, Bevan, mediumship. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't ever want to actually do dead people stuff either. And it's not necessary. I think this is what happened is I expanded my definition of mediumship, because I've done a lot of earth-based mediumship without realizing that's what I was doing, because mediumship is just connecting to spirits that aren't on the physical earth plane. And it's not just dead people. It's like guides and earth spirits and all sorts of energy. So but it is also dead people. So I'm just learning more about it. And I've already started development training. It didn't occur to me that doing the development training would mean that I would get more messages from the beyond, because that's, part of it is just practice every session with fellow students, and with we have a medium who's like our, teacher. And so she's in there like listening to, like, I don't know. I'm still not fully sure how it works. I just know that it does. And so, like, as people are kind of tuning in and hearing the messages, like, my teacher is like tuning in, hearing it, and kind of giving, the drips and drabs of the message that didn't come through in the initial message. But it's very cool. And I'm really excited about it. I was like very trepidatious at first, because again, I was like, when I was a little girl, I went to a haunted Girl Scout camp a lot. Like, I was a camp counselor there later. Like, this was my home camp in Marin County, and it was very haunted. And I can say this without having any personal ghost experiences, because as a little girl, I was like, no ghosts. And ghosts, unlike your toxic family, are really good at boundaries. So if you say no ghosts, you'll get no ghosts. But people who get ghost encounters because they haven't set a boundary. And I think it's kind of true for people who are constantly in toxic relationships, because they haven't determined what their boundaries need to be. And not that I'm trying to victim blame at all. Please don't hear what I'm not saying. But I am saying, like, understanding yourself and taking the time to understand what boundaries you need to be the best version of you, what priorities you need to be the best version of you, all of that. Boundaries with self, right? So lots of boundary work we do in life, because we are raised in a culture that is also toxic. What else? So doing mediumship training, I finished my living systems course, which marks essentially, it's been almost 3 full years of study under Leah Garza, who's like such an incredible teacher. I could not recommend her more. Living systems was very cool, and I'm glad I did her Akashic mentorship first, and then living systems. That's mosquito, by the way, because it's springtime in the forest. It's very real out here. I've got mosquito incense burning. I've got my bug spray on. But Leah Garza is an incredible teacher, and it has very much helped me heal a lot of education trauma, and learned so much, and just changed, like, switched the lens with which I view the world around me. I see everything as like a living scene, living thing, living being. Matter has agency. Um, our lungs look like tree roots for a reason. Like, we're breathing out, they're breathing in, vice versa, right? Like, we are all one living system by design. And I just am so grateful to Leah for taking the leap, because it's a lot of vulnerability to start teaching a class on something. It's a lot of vulnerability to offer one-on-one sessions with you, right? Like, to like step into your gifts and be like, I have this thing I can help you with, and it is worth money, and please exchange money for my time, right? So anyway, highly recommend crystals.ultramyra.com. Leah's been my guest on like at least 3 podcasts, maybe 4. So please go engage with Leah, because she's just changed my life. I'm so grateful. Let's see. So I finished Living Systems. I also finished a year of study with Marianne Williamson. She did a Miracle Minded membership where every month we did a coaching call. And then in tandem with that, I've been studying A Course in Miracles. And like, really, I'm on day 224 today, which is my favorite number, 224. And anyway, it's that has also been transformational. It's really helpful to, like, again, switch the lens with which I view the world, to see miracles and to see my role in it, to show up again for my purpose, which is to settle my nervous system and listen for resonance and do the next right thing. God can only work in our present moment, and so that's why present moment awareness is so important. Something I've been working on too is like experiencing satisfaction in the present moment. I think a lot of times in hustle culture, and this is like white supremacy culture, all of that, right? We're like market clocking time, right? Like we do jobs we don't like. We like, do, and there's a lot of stuff in life. Someone I really admire, a mother I really admire, said, only about 30% of motherhood is fun. And like, the rest of it is just stuff you have to do. And I was like, oh, that is so real. But it's not forever, right? Because eventually your kids grow up, and whether or not you have a relationship with them as an adult is kind of um the performance review you get as a parent. And I know that's harsh. A lot of people, there's a lot of discussion in that Marianne Williamson coaching thing, because Marianne Williamson is my mother's age. She was born 2 weeks after my mother, and they're both cancers, real sharp tongued cancers at that. And a lot of people were talking about their difficult child relationships. And Marianne reflects all the time. She's like, we didn't have the choice to like not interact with our parents. It was never like that for us. Like, she's talking about her boomer generation. And I'm like, yeah. And people are like, oh, it's TikTok telling them they cannot talk to their parents. No, it's like us having more access to information about like what it means to have healthy relationships and healthy boundaries. And you are probably not honoring your kids' boundaries, or vice versa. Your kid has some stuff they need to do on their own and might come back, might not, right? Like my mom and I were estranged for most of my 20s, all of my 20s pretty much, and like a good chunk of my 30s. And now we have, I think, the best relationship. We have the best relationship we could possibly have, given our very opposite. She's a Cancer, I'm a Capricorn. Like, I'm very tender. She's very sharp tongued, but she's better. Like, I have to say, like, we were texting about like leaving. She's driving me. She is doing me a favor tomorrow and driving me an hour away to the ferry, because I live over the river and through the woods. So going to the airport is a whole thing. So I'm going to get my mom is driving me to the ferry. I will take a ferry across to Seattle. I will walk a mile to a light rail station. This is to avoid paying $65 for a lift from the ferry right to the airport. We'll walk up a very steep hill to the light rail station, and then take the light rail to the airport. So it's going to be a trek tomorrow. And she said, may I suggest we leave 15 minutes earlier, because, and I reflected on that. I was like, my mom could have said that much more violently than she did. And because like, a previous version of her might have been like, we should, and I think, and she's getting better and better. Anyway, I love my mother, grateful. Our relationship is my greatest life success. And I think a lot about, and I think I've created a lot of peace recently about like dropping out of high school. I wish I had, and I did not. I went, if you don't know me or my story, I went like straight from high school to college, and 4 years in college, no summer school, and then straight, because I couldn't afford it. I was like, it was scarcity mindset. Like, I wish I had studied abroad. I never did, couldn't afford it, right? Or wasn't willing to see possible solutions to affording it, right? And then went to law school, all on loans, like very few scholarships, very few grants, all on loans, and like still giant loan debt to this day. And it's funny because I got this law degree because I didn't want to grapple with uncertainty, but the lessons I'm learning in my 40s that I have to learn in order to just be the next version of myself, right? When you stop learning lessons, you stop living, I think. And life is really about like, what's the next lesson? Our souls come here to have lessons, right? And if I had been willing and had examples, and this is where I create a lot of forgiveness for myself because I did not have examples of independent artists creating, and many of the tools I use now for the career that I have now didn't exist when I was a teen, right? So all of that to say, I have so much compassion for myself, but I went to law school partially like to please my mother, like because she was really invested in me having a quote unquote career and being a quote unquote professional so that I would be quote unquote safe. And then I learned in 2008 when the economy crashed and my law firm ceased to exist and I suddenly did not have a job, that no job is actually secure and job security is a myth that they teach us, which like I'm so grateful for this like Gen Z coming through who realize, I mean, I think millennials really like sniffed the BS on that, and the BS on like how the game is played. And they're like, the boomers have all this real estate. We don't have real estate. We can't afford to get real estate. We have all this loan debt, right? Boomers went to college when it was cheap. Anyway, and back when a college degree really set you apart. Um, anyway, I could complain, but I'm not going to. But I'm just saying that, like, it's funny because I think I went to law school in many ways to please my mother and my grandmother, um, to a large extent. And then I still didn't feel safe enough with her. And it's just like hindsight, I didn't have this awareness at the time, but I didn't feel safe enough with her to have a relationship even. So it's like I did all this work and then was in this career that was like eroding my physical health instead of like pursuing the harder path, which was just like figuring out what I could do, getting a trade, and like moving forward. Now I have a trade in addition to the aerobics that I teach and the podcasts I do and the blog that I write, queerfatfemme.com. Um, I have been pet sitting, and pet sitting has actually been really good for my pet grief and really good for dream building because I've been staying in some very beautiful places. I was just like reviewing some stuff, like in addition to living somewhere that is proximal, like I'm literally like this forest that I'm in is 1 block away from my home, and I live in an RV, which has its drawbacks, but I get to live because I'm in that RV. I get to live so close to the forest, and I have just immense gratitude for this, like approximation to a place I feel very safe being alone in. There's not a lot of forest spaces I would feel super safe being alone in, especially after dark, which I don't tromp around after dark most times, but I could. And I know that if something happens, some lesbian would come along eventually. So, and would be able to go get help or, cell phone somewhere. Anyway, so I've been staying in some very cool places, which is teaching me a lot about like, what do I want in a dream home? What kind of bathtub do I want? Like, what kind of view do I want? What kind of windows do I want? How do I want to organize my kitchen? I never really thought that through, but like, I'm not a born organized person. I'm someone who aspires to organization. I thrive when someone else organizes for me and I can just maintain the order. But a couple of the houses, like their kitchen is just like perfection, right? Like really well organized. Like this one place I just stayed in, like there's an appliance cupboard, and right next to the appliance cupboard is a drawer with the bread. So like the toaster and the bread are right next to each other. Genius. It's these little things that make such a big difference. Anyway, and like getting to stay, the last place I stayed in was like literally like beachfront. So like, and watching the tides come in and out every day and like the clouds move and like just getting to run these dogs on the beach. It was such a gift. I was so grateful. So I've gotten to do a lot of that kind of stuff. And I'm grateful to the rover.com app, which I started sitting on when I was living in Los Angeles still, and I resurrected that profile when I got a psychic reading from my friend Chrissy Tolley. She does these quarterly Zoom calls that I host. I love it. It's one of my favorite little gigs that I do. And I host her Zoom call. And she does about 25 readings, and then I get a little reading. So it's like 10 minutes. And it's like, her guides have all kinds of things to say to me. And one of her readings one time was like, try pet sitting. And I was like, oh, that's kind of a great idea because then I can work on my aerobics, work on my art creation, all of that kind of stuff, and hang out with pets. And so it's been a little bit, I mean, it's all very bittersweet, right? Because my life is nowhere where I wanted it to be. Like this is kind of where I feel like I don't know, like if I feel like I quote unquote ended up here, I made a choice to move here instead of like maintaining my toil in Los Angeles. The early few episodes of my podcast, like I talk about the move. So if you ever want to know more about where I was at in that time, I was not regulated. So moving here and making my life much simpler has definitely regulated my nervous system. Now I know what it's like to feel peace. And now I am slowly moving into a pace of life where I'm like protecting my peace, but also like pursuing capacity building. So like it's funny because I have some business mentors who have the advice typically that like you've achieved big things in your life. How did you achieve those things? Apply that here, right? And I'm like, no, I can't apply what I did because I've been burned out since I was 7 years old. Like I like skipped first grade and then have just been like performing for my own safety. I thought being an overachiever perfectionist would make me safe, and that was kind of the role I played in the family environment affected by alcoholism. It's, it's one of those things like healing in Al-Anon was so helpful because I thought that what I was going through was exceptional. And in fact, it was not. It was very typical for that environment. So it's just, yeah, we have so much to learn. Let's see, what else am I going through? So anyway, so I'm like working on satisfaction, right? Like I think there's something to being a Scorpio moon that and a Scorpio Venus. Scorpio is like this deep diving mermaid sign. It's like the detective of the zodiac, and like there's an intensity to those feelings. There's a lot of brooding and longing that I experience, which is why I like really like brooding, longing music. Music is so helpful for me. And so like I've had a lot of brooding and longing because there's things that I want, right? Like that I have absolutely no control over. Like I want to be in love. I want to have a love partnership. Like I think like I came out to myself as polyamorous a couple years ago, but like also I don't know that I even care to be polyamorous. There's literally no one right now I'm attracted to. So like I'd like at least one person to be attracted to. You know what I mean? I think like in some ways people see polyamory as this thing where you always have a lot of partners, and that's not true because there's a distinction between orientation and behavior. And like my orientation may be polyamorous, but my behavior right now is celibate unintentionally. It's just what's happening. And I wish I had known. Like there are times in my life where like I had like this flood of popularity on the internet, and like I couldn't keep up with my emails, I couldn't keep up with the opportunities that I had. And now like with crickets, kind of literal crickets in my life, I'm like, wow, what I wouldn't give for a flood of opportunities. I would love to get to work with people and have some divine unions with cosmic chemistry and compatible capacity. um but it's all good. I think I would have like also lightened up a little bit about like my 6 month stretches of celibacy in my, I don't even want to call it young adulthood. Your late 20s, early 30s. That's not young adulthood. It feels young to me now, but it's not. In my early adulthood, I don't know. Anyway, I did like they were like I'd have stretches of maybe 6 months of celibacy. And I didn't realize how good I had it. Living in a city surrounded by options. Wistful days. Um, but anyway, I'm doing what I can. I'm out there. And I'm very excited. I'm going on gaycation for 2 weeks and 3 days. I'm going to go first on a cruise to the Caribbean with my bestie, Rachel. Blessings on her corporate job that enables her to whisk me off on gaycation. So I'm going to go learn new line dances for aerobics and just have a gay old time. We're entering our new cruising gay aunties identity. And I'm excited to meet people. I'm excited to be on like summer camp at the seas. It's 3,000 people on our boat, which is kind of nuts, not including staff. It's kind of a nutballs amount of people on a boat, but it's more like a floating resort. I've never been on a cruise. I don't know. I was kind of anti-cruising for a long time, especially like early quarantine times. Um, I got sick for the first time in over 6 years, and I'm still getting over it. It's been like 6 weeks. And I didn't even get that sick. I just got phlegmy and cough, like this persistent cough. It's going away slowly but surely, but you can see me like desperately drinking tea in the last interview I did on my podcast. I was just reviewing it yesterday, and I was like, oh girl, I'm sorry. You were so sick. And I just kind of laid low as best I could to rest because I don't know. I never tested positive for COVID. Knock on wood, thank God. But I think I just had a cold. And like even then, I don't want to get a cold. Like I still mask in the grocery store, I mask in medical environments, I mask anywhere people aren't electively there. Like restaurants, I don't mask. What's the point? Like someone across the restaurant like can their germs can get to me. So I wear like this nasal spray. I do like a nasal rinse at the end of the night. I use, if you Google queerfatfemme.com COVID precautions, I will, like, that is my whole repertoire. And I felt so betrayed by this epic repertoire to try to keep me safe, or try to keep me virus free. And then I got sick anyway. But I was just reflecting that I have a friend, a couple friends who are like, like the healthiest people I know. Like they make some extreme choices around their health, and how they live their life, but they do not mask, like in public ever. And they've been sick at least twice since I've, like, in the last year and a half. So, yeah, I mean, it's not, being sick is not a moral failing, which, like, is to me, like, as someone who just took my health and took COVID precautions so intensely for so long, right? So I was like, why would I go on a cruise? But then I got to know more people who cruise, and I got to know more about boats and, like, just how to be. And then I also relaxed a little bit my COVID protocols. You know what I mean? Like, if I had been basically, I think I got sick going to my women's circle, even though there's an air purifier and sometimes there's open windows. I went to my women's circle and I hung out afterwards with some people who had just gotten off a plane and from a trip, and, like, who knows where people have been. And, like, pretty much almost everyone I know has gotten sick over this winter. So I don't know. It's been an intense time for viruses, and I know, that I did not spread it to anyone, because once I got sick, I was like, oh, I locked it down. I, like, rested. I didn't go anywhere. So, and of course, I masked anytime I was around anybody else. So I did what I could. But, like, and even, like, with the lingering, like, 6 weeks, like, I have really declined some social interactions inside because I didn't want to get anybody else sick. So I've done what I can do. Um, at least I hope I didn't get anyone sick. I'm sure there's some parts before I knew that I was sick where I could have been contagious, right? I mean, we just don't know. And we're all doing the best we can with the tools and resources we have at the time. And I also I actually really think, like, sometimes you get sick for a reason, because, like, you got to tighten something up. And I've been, like, really on my game. I take supplements. I'm really into, like, resourcing myself well. And a few of them are like, take this twice a day. One of them, magnesium, you can only absorb 200 milligrams at a time. And my grandmother, at the end of her life, needed, like magnesium infusions. She was so deficient on magnesium, and magnesium, deficiency causes migraines. And I was really getting a lot of migraines, or, like, almost migraines, not quite migraines, because I have a lot of things that help me not get a migraine. But I was getting a lot in the beginning of the year, and just my tender body, right? And so now I've just, like, on my supplement game, with periods between that. Like, I am, like, taking my night dose, my morning dose, taking things in between. I met a witch in a parking lot. There's a local witch here, and I had heard from a friend. She had, like, a wall apothecary of tinctures, and I was like, can you? Because, like, I used to take this thing, um, from, like, I used to buy this bottle of tincture on Amazon, and I'm trying to de-billionaire my life. So anything I can get there that I can get somewhere else, I'm going to go and try to put cash in the hands of local people. So I had heard about this woman's tincture, collection, and I said, can you make me a tincture for my immune system? And she was like, I got you. Meet me in this parking lot. So $20, got this tincture, and I'm feeling way better. Like, it really did help me get over the last couple weeks of a hump. I'm still, like, slightly congested, still coughing a little bit, but I'm not done with my tincture. But I'm taking way more than I thought I would. Like, her dose was much bigger than I thought. It's like 2 big dropperfuls up to 5 times a day. And then I asked her for one for my cruise to help with my immune system, just to boost it some more, and to help with mucus, because I've been off. Dairy causes a lot of mucus for me and inflammation. And so I've been totally off dairy for the last 6 weeks, just to support my lack of congestion. But I'm going on this cruise for the food. Like, I have an eat agenda. And while, like, it's not all dairy, it's a little dairy. And so, like, she made me one. I just said, like, to address the mucus, and she made me one that said, like, clear the snot. I told her when I got that one that I would be her tincture customer for life, just for the names of her, um, assemblage. So that's me. Thanks for hanging out with me. I really like, to add value. I hope this adds value to you, to kind of learn more about, like, what I'm going through, what I'm learning. Oh, my big eclipse lesson. I want to close with this. I've learned, so my friend gave me a gift to be a member of the Chani app. Chani's an astrologer. And I've been off Instagram. I don't think I've talked about this either. So anyway, I wrote a couple of blog posts about going off Instagram. I did not intend to leave forever, but then we had this big Pluto transit and it just felt like the right sacrifice, like sacrifices to make something sacred. And it just felt like I was losing too much time on Instagram stories. Like I was very addicted to Instagram stories, both composing them myself and consuming them. And it wasn't converting into clients the way like I told myself. I was like, this is my communications work. There's communications work I can do, blogging and podcasting, right? Like for my Patreon, there's things I can do. I don't need to the Instagram thing was just an addiction, and it's a billionaire thing, right? And so I'm trying to de-billionaire my life. So I took my attention away from Instagram. So I'm still using it as like a place to have like a virtual business card and to show up and promote the podcast and my blog, but I'm not hanging out there. And that's been really helpful. I have to say, I've been very grounded and very chill. And part of it is because I'm not inundated with stuff all the time. I have Discord communities where I get news information and collaboration and connection. I have my own Discord through my Patreon page where I have my own little diary where I can put anything I would have put on my Instagram stories. And that's really satisfying to me. Like it scratches the itch of like the desire to create and compose and have instant feedback, right? So I've been doing that. And yeah, so I'm just grateful that like I have other things to do that aren't Instagram. And I've been hanging out more on YouTube and doing like shorts and stuff like that and watching YouTube videos. Been very like I've studied this cruise. I know what I'm doing. There's a lot of cruise content, and I know what I'm going to create for cruise content from my cruise. This is why I got this little microphone because I found that the videos that had little external microphones were just easier to follow because I could hear better. So, anyway, so I've been on YouTube a lot, but really just like chilling. But getting the Chani app, because my friend gave me money to like become a member so I could listen to my year ahead reading, has given me more like between Chani and my membership to Jana of Feeling Loudly's Patreon, which I highly recommend. I love their Patreon so much. Feeling Loudly. It's the URL slug from Patreon. Between those two, I'm getting my astrology content, which I used to. Oh, and also Colin of Queer Cosmos has a daily subscription on text, which I listen to those notes too. So it's like those three are like my main astrologers now instead of like the constant stream of astrology on Instagram. But Chani was talking a lot about like um, the stuff that was lit up by this recent eclipse was your committed partnerships because it's the seventh house. And I was like, what is that going to mean for me? And like, she gave lots of examples of what it could be. And like, it wasn't any of those things. What it was I got a clear understanding of how I want to prioritize my time with people. And it also like kind of coincides with pet sitting because I've gotten a lot of requests actually for July and I haven't taken any of them because I'm not booking more than 3 months out. And I realized like there are certain parts of my life that I'm very committed to. I'm very committed to Fat Kid Dance Party aerobics. I would absolutely book a class more than 3 months out. I would book if someone wanted to. I don't throw retreats anymore. I only did one. I'm never going to do one again. But like if someone wanted to book me for a retreat, I would absolutely do that more than 3 months out. For like if like a casual friend wanted to make plans with me more than 3 months out, I would say no. But my bestie Rachel, absolutely. That's a committed relationship, right? So like it's really like discerning like who gets access to be the big rocks that I organize my time around. I'm part of a leadership community to develop my leadership skills, which I'm so grateful to have access to it because it's extraordinary. First of all, second of all, I'm a way better person over the last 6 years. I've really studied leadership and communication skills in a way most people don't, and I'm grateful for just sharpening myself into the better, like polishing the rock. You know what I mean? Like I had some hard edges where people who I loved could not feel that I loved them because I didn't understand communication. So now I do more and more. All that to say, like the stuff with them, that is a big rock and that goes in first, right? So like I know how to organize my time and then I kind of like fill in everything around that, right? Because pet sitting like is something I can do, but it's something that like isn't like I just realized I'm like, oh, I'm gonna organize my whole summer around somebody's sit and they could cancel it before just, I only get a cancellation fee if it's like a week out. I'm like, nah. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to prioritize someone. But I will, like, 3 months out. You know what I mean? I'm like, by then I kind of know what it's looking at. But it took me a while to understand that I needed that framework, right? Because, like, priorities and boundaries are things that are revealed to us over time through contrast and experience, and need. So, on that note, this is still longer than I ever wanted it to be, but as Abraham Lincoln said, if I had had more time, I would have written you a shorter letter. I love you so much. Thanks for being here. Bye, everybody.